Welcome, and we're all looking forward to hearing from Mike Gennaco, and we're also looking forward to hearing from our interns. Jim, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, who has a well, good evening. Again, good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Lawrence. I serve as the board chair of Fixin. Thank you for joining us tonight. I also like to alert you to the fact that we do not have any Spanish translation tonight, but we will have this recorded and we will send it out later on. Tonight, tonight is more than just another night. It's an opportunity to be inspired, to be learned, and to strengthen your voice as you go forward. Our speaker tonight represents exactly the kind of independent oversight, transparency, and accountability Fixin San Mateo County believes every resident deserves. As you listen tonight, I encourage you to think about one question. Why shouldn't the people of San Mateo County have the same level of independent oversight and public accountability as many other cities here throughout California? Again, I ask each of you to listen carefully, take notes. Think about how you can use what you hear tonight to educate your neighbors, friends, elected officials about the urgent need for truly independent oversight within the Inspector General's office, with authority to protect the public and restore trust to our sheriff's organization. Again, this movement grows one conversation at a time, and tonight's presentation will allow you to expand your ability to move the conversation forward. Thank you and welcome. And now I'll turn it to our interns who will share their story with you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Jim, for the introduction. Hi everyone. My name is Astris. I'm currently a rising senior at Cromont High School. And kind of how I got involved with Fixing San Mateo County and now our Stop the Scandals initiative, which us interns launched this summer, has definitely been uneasiness in terms of interacting with police or law enforcement amongst a lot of my peers. And this has continued, especially for the past couple of years. And it really led me to want to do something about this. And especially about a year ago, when I was able to host a youth town hall with the Redwood City Police Department, it really highlighted to me the concerns that youth have in regards to law enforcement. And there's definitely not people to blame specifically for this, but there's definitely things that we can positively do to impact and positively improve the situation that community and law enforcement have and mend that relationship and also improve that relationship and to strengthen the community. And I think our Stop the Scandals initiative is really aiming at the idea that we all want what is best for the community. And I think that we really want to take in all the perspectives that we can. And we geared our initiative towards outreach to the community as well as connecting with individuals from all across San Mateo County to ask and advocate for more transparency. And that really came to a head with our petition which we're asking the Board of Supervisors to implement an Inspector General under Assembly Bill 1185. And then we're going to plan to present our signatures, which our goal was 500, but we recently surpassed that. And the goal has now been increased to 600. And we're planning to present those signatures to the Board of Supervisors and also share our perspectives as youth, as we're also part of the community and we're also a big part of the community in the future. So I think our perspectives are worth bringing up to the Board of Supervisors and fighting for transparency and just community engagement and better connection between law enforcement and our community.
Yeah, thanks, Astrid. So, my name is Henry Gardner. I'm a recent graduate of Burlingame High School, and I'm an incoming freshman at Northwestern University. And I'm also an intern for Stop the Scandals this summer. Um, for me, I've always had an interest in public policy and an interest in how things get done in our government. And I saw the opportunity to stop the scandals to make a real change and to learn more about um, you know how things get done at the grassroots level. And so I've had the opportunity to really see a lot of incredible and learn a lot of incredible things in my first month or so at Fixin. I think that's something that is special to all of us interns is I think the opportunity to intern at Fix in San Mateo, it gives us a chance to really get our voices out and do things that, a typical intern wouldn't do. We really get to go out there and show people how passionate we are and talk to interesting people. So I know that, this experience means a lot to all of us. So to talk a little bit about, how we're getting these things done, these things that Ashes is talking about. We've spent a lot of time, for example, speaking at events. A lot of interns, we've been going out to local community events, Democratic clubs, things like that, and we've been speaking about, the things that we're passionate about and about our mission and our petition. And we've had a lot of really interesting experiences. So to give you an example, I spoke at an event in Montera last past weekend, and I had the opportunity to talk to a local Half Moon Bay politician about some of his concerns with, Fixin's vision and with an inspector general. And I was able to have a really productive and exciting conversation about where, we disagreed and where we agreed and, kind of what our vision is as interns and the vision of Fixin in general. And so these events have been a really awesome opportunity, not just to get numbers on the page in terms of signatures, but also to really talk to people and learn what they care about and learn why or why not someone might be involved with our vision. Um, so yeah, our efforts have really been paying off. As Ash just mentioned, we had a goal of 500 signatures, and we've already passed that goal, and we're planning on increasing that goal because it really matters to us more than just a number. It matters to us that we show our local government and our San Mateo County Board of Supervisors that this is a popular issue, that this is something that people care about, and it also matters that the people who sign our petition are from a wide range of backgrounds. We have members who range in terms of age and race and gender. There is a lot of diversity in the people who care about this issue, and that's something that matters to us a lot. So we're going to, as interns, continue to reach out to our community. We're going to continue to collect signatures leading up to August 25th when we plan on presenting to the board because we want to show our local government just how loud and unified our voices are when it comes to this issue.
And I will also add that definitely like I did not expect everyone to agree with fully with what our vision might be or what the initiative's vision might be, but it's just been so great to see how everyone's willing to have a conversation and engage with us, especially as youth, and hear our perspectives and also see how we can connect and where there might be places where we don't connect, but that's okay, and there's always ways that we can get across from that. So that's been a really great experience this summer as well.
Thank you so much. Are you all blown away by our interns? And there are even more than these two fabulous young gentlemen. Lots of women too. I would like to lead into Mike Gennaco, our fabulous speaker. But I'd also just like to add, I'm sure Nancy probably already has, but will continue to put the link to that petition in the chat. It's very important for the board to stop saying to us, oh, but you're only one voice, and to collect people from all over the county. So all of you can help on that. Thank you so much. Welcome, Mike. I see you. Just briefly on Mike's background, Mike was an undergraduate major at Dartmouth in psychology, which I'd love to have you remember throughout. Graduated from Stanford Law and became over time a number of different things, but including an assistant attorney at the Department of Justice, also a trial attorney, and he was in the Civil Rights Division. So that too is so good for us. He was hired in Los Angeles, which is the first time we heard of him, to bring in conversations with the community and to be able to evaluate the police department. It's the largest police department in the world, over 1,000 officers, probably way more than that too. And Mike was able to set up in close relationship with the chief of police monthly meetings that had all the community business and residents and the ACLU in every meeting so that people could nip problems in the bud. They could say, well, over in this area, the gangs are getting strong. And then also over in that area, There are people who are being elitist and keeping people out, or whatever those are, or we've bumped into some bad apples from the law enforcement. And that experience base is what we want to draw on in our county also. Mike was then hired by somebody who moved from LA to Palo Alto. Immediately, first thing he did was hire Mike to be their auditor. So the auditor is somebody who is the equivalent of what we call it the inspector general, because that's what the law 1185 calls it. It's also called a monitor. All the above, Mike covers beautifully. Um, in Palo Alto, Mike was able, because of that same nipping it in the bud, to lower their lawsuits annually from millions of dollars that their taxpayers had to pay out from their money to only 1 to 200,000 a year. When I heard that, I thought, music to our ears. Do we ever need that? He was also hired regionally for a number of other counties. And he can tell you about that, except I think he has more interesting things too. See, he comes very well reputed. We've heard from Santa Clara how much of a difference he makes there. He is that person also, the auditor for Santa Clara County. They had a $10 million lawsuit, and Mike has brought that way down as well as help the culture in general, help bring understanding. Their sheriff will not start an investigation without Mike being around the table. Mike, or he's now head of ORI group, which he can tell you those initials. And he has a number of people working for him, also very similar to a Mike caliber. And those people have helped change the culture as well and are highly appreciated by the sheriff. They don't always agree, but the sheriff continuing to put that Mike in that is laudable. Same sheriff who used to be chief of police in Palo Alto. That's how much he appreciated him. Mike's been invaluable to us as we've tried to move forward, both on civilian oversight as well as bringing in that we call it inspector general. And he will regale you with amazing stories, but also just the purview that he has. I want to add one thing, that not every county hires Mike contractually for the same thing. So we bumped into some counties, for instance, Santa Clara, that does not hire him for something we consider crucial, which is evaluating metrics so that he can see problems bubble up quarter by quarter and work with the sheriff to say, ooh, let's check why. Does it need better training? Is there something different there? What else is there something difficult in the community? Is there a bad apple here or there? And all of that, you can tell he's so appreciated by, because his group is expanding. And of course, we would love to borrow him also.
Thank
Mike
you,
Gennaco.
Elsa.
Mike, thank you.
Well, thank you for the kind remarks. Elsa, it's good to see you. Good to see you, Nancy, and a lot of other familiar faces in this room. So it's great to be back. As Elsa indicated, my name is Michael Gennaco, and I am one of the members of OIR Group, which is an oversight group that is currently overseeing probably 25 different agencies throughout California and outside of California as well. We have work in New Mexico, in the state of Washington, in Oregon, we do work. So it's not just limited to California, although since we are California based, most of our work is here in this state. I wanted to say shout out to the interns who have worked hard on this project for you all. I think the use of interns is invaluable for a whole lot of reasons. When we were overseeing the LA County Sheriff's Office, we would hire, particularly in the summer, we would hire up to a dozen law students and college students to serve as interns for us. And what we would primarily have them do in LA County is that they would actually, on a regular basis, walk the floors of the jails in LA County, essentially being our eyes and ears. And I think that experience certainly was very helpful to us. We couldn't be, there were six, of us in the oversight group at the time. And there were just as many jails in LA County. So we couldn't be walking the jails every day, but the interns were able to, and the sheriff at the time had no objection for us to supplement our resources in doing that. And so at the end of the day, our intern coordinator would gather the interns and just say, "Hey, what happened today? What did you find? What did you see? Anything concerning?" And it really did, I think, help us with regard to our responsibilities in watching over those jails. Also, I do think it was an invaluable experience for the interns to see a part of the world in which most people never have a chance to see because it's such a closed system with very few people allowed into the interworkings of that facility, except for the people who are there who don't want to be there. That was a great experience. The other thing, of course, is particularly as I get into my sunset years, the need for youth to start to pass the torch to them, if you will, and continually looking for new people who are enthusiastic about this area so that we will have continued growth and generational transitions as some of us slow down a bit. So hats off to you, interns, for the work that you've done for for San Mateo. I'll be happy to give some introductory remarks. I've been at this for over 25 years, so I can go a lot of different directions. Nancy was good enough to give me some ideas about things I may want to talk about. One of the things she asked me to talk through is our ramp-up process and how that looks when we are brought on to start to provide oversight in either a county or a city. That varies a bit from place to place, depending on the nature of the assignment, the nature of the jurisdiction, and the world in which we live. And what do I mean by that? When we got started in Santa Clara County, for example, our contracts were signed and we were ready to go in January of 2020. We were able to take a site visit and do a lap around the county, got to meet all the board members and the board of supervisors, county council, county executives, other stakeholders, ACLU, DBUG, and all the advocacy groups, and spent a lot of time doing that. We think that's important, particularly if you're not familiar with the jurisdiction yourself as much as you might be, to learn who the players are, to learn who individuals are. So we got started on that. We were also planning to spend a whole week with sheriff's executives and get a chance to tour the jails in February of that year. But guess what? Everything stopped, and you all know why, probably, if you can remember. It was COVID. And so COVID, prevented us from getting into the jails. No more face-to-face meetings, and everything went into a Zoom or Teams platform, which was doable, but not ideal. So all that face-to-face contact that you hope starts productive relationships, what I still think are essential, we couldn't do. We just couldn't do. And so we learned to, try our best to continue to do our work over virtual platforms, but it wasn't as great as it might be. But that is sort of a blueprint for how we would get started. So we got started a couple years later in Santa Cruz County. And by that time, much of the COVID issues were behind us. And so we did exactly that. We did a lot of outreach at the beginning, got to know folks, got to understand from board members and other leadership in the county what the interests are, got to understand from plaintiffs' lawyers as well as advocacy groups like the ACLU and NAACP what their interests and concerns were. And that ended up being very helpful for us as we got started and started to develop an internal work plan, if you will. Most of the times that we have gotten started, in fact, all but once in the times that we've gotten started, we have been able to achieve a collaborative relationship with either the police chief or the sheriff and other leadership within the county or city that we are coming on board with. I do say one exception, and quite candidly, that one exception was in fact Santa Clara County. So the interest in collaboration and working together and trying to recognize each other's roles and to try to get at some of these issues through consensus building, that largely did not happen in Santa Clara County because the sheriff at the time was not interested really in working with us, was not interested in providing us the access and the information, the access to her people, the access to documents, the access to her facilities that we need in order for us to do good work and do any valuable work at all. But she straight-armed us and kept us at bay for a couple years, really, to the point where, for the first time in our history, we had to ask the board for subpoena authority in order to complete some projects that the board had asked us to do. We did issue a few subpoenas and got those projects done as a result of that. But that's the first time and hopefully the last time I'll ever have to do that. Because ideally, you want a collaborative relationship where it is assumed that the oversight professional, the IG, the independent police auditor, whatever you call them, is going to have that level of access. And if you have that assumption and that assumption proves true, then you don't need to worry about issuing subpoenas right and left. So I would say that while subpoena authority is important to have, it's good to have in case you do have a recalcitrant leader of the agency, but it's hopefully not going to be necessary if you have a leader of an agency who's willing to work with you. And in all the other projects, and there's probably been, for the 25 years I've been doing, we probably had over 100 engagements. All the other ones, there's been no problem in getting the information we need in order to do the work that was asked of us. As Elsa said, once there was a replacement in Santa Clara County, and quite candidly, for those of you who may not remember, Lori Smith did not leave her job voluntarily. She was pushed out by a grand jury who decided that she had problems with concealed carry permits and issuing them, but also because of her failure to cooperate with us. So that led to her eventual removal from office, and she was replaced by Bob Johnson. Sheriff Johnson, as Elsa indicated, we knew from when he was a captain at LA County Sheriff's Department. So we had a long relationship with him. He knew of us. And when he came on board in Palo Alto, after he left Santa Clara, he worked for another agency up north and then went to Palo Alto, where we had been monitors or auditors for that city. We have been monitoring that city for over 20 years now. And the driving force behind the city of Palo Alto's acceptance of a monitor, one of the first agencies in Northern California to have any kind of oversight, was none other than then councilperson LaDoris Cordell. And she was behind that movement. We were interviewed as part of the process for their first auditor, and we got selected by the council and city manager, and we have been doing work for them ever since. There has been some concerns in the city of Palo Alto about automatic license plate readers and the involvement of Flock, and we are about to engage with them on a project in which we'll be looking at that process and doing an audit for the city of Palo Alto to see whether or not, to help council decide whether or not they should continue the contract with Flock. So that'll be an interesting assignment. We're also doing Flock projects, Flock-related projects, and have done them for the city of Santa Cruz, the county of Santa Cruz, the county of Santa Clara, and the city of Pasadena. So we are getting well versed into some of the controversies surrounding that, and we can talk about that those issues if anyone would like to. In Santa Clara County, there is a community-based group that is sort of our partners in oversight, and we really appreciate the good work that is done by what is called CCLEM, and they are a community-based group appointed by the board and by us to perform sort of the community-focused function on oversight in the county. CCLEM does not have unfettered access to all information. They don't have unfettered access to confidential information. So when they have interest in a project in which that kind of access is needed, we will partner with them and serve as a liaison and a partner with them in providing that access and providing information to them depending on their interest. And that we have found that over the past 6 years we've been there to be a very, very helpful process. Some agencies do not have a community-based group, like Santa Cruz County does not. So in those cases, what we end up doing is we supplement our work by actually trying to reach out to the advocacy groups, to other stakeholders, to plaintiffs' lawyers and the like, to continue that outreach. And when we issue our reports, we go out to the county and do town halls so that everyone, in addition to our presentation to the board, everyone can participate in lengthier discussions about where the county is going with regard to how the jail's running, how the patrol functions are running, and the like. So that's how we supplement. And we recognize that it's important not to just sit at the seat of the county. So the last time we did oversight, it was just a month or two ago, we actually went to Watsonville in South County and presented there because I think sometimes that part of the county ends up getting ignored by the fact that the seat of government is in, the north part of the county in Santa Cruz. So that sort of is an explanation for how we have worked, and particularly I'm focusing on Northern California, since that's where you all are headquartered. We do interact with the rank and file from time to time, and we think it's important to hear from them as we move forward in our projects, as well as their associations. Our experience has been that associations can be impediments to oversight. Oftentimes, there will be some initial opposition or concern or wariness with regard to oversight by the rank and file and by their union leadership. But we have found that there are ways to overcome that anxiety, anxiousness, and reticence about embracing oversight. One of the ways we do it in Santa Clara County and in the city of Palo Alto is we involve them in the process. What I mean by that is that before we issue any of our reports that impact on personnel issues or deputy misconduct issues, internal affairs investigation reports, et cetera, we will write a report for the board, but we will share a draft of that report with union leadership. Why? Not to have them say, oh, you need to change this, or you got this, we're going to have a debate about the propriety of the recommendation. That's not the purpose. The purpose is, one, for fact checking to make sure we're on the same page factually, but also to give them a heads up about what's coming and to hear from them in an offline conversation about any concerns they might have about our roles as oversight professionals. And obviously, there's a lot that oversight can do to assist deputies in their day-to-day life. So, for example, there was a particular case in which an individual who was a rank and file employee was harassing his colleagues and did so for years because he ended up being very close friends with the sheriff at the time. And so he felt that he was immune from any kind of accountability until we got involved and we wrote a report, and he suddenly became no longer immune from that accountability. So, we got a lot of appreciation from his colleagues who were having to live with him and his harassing behavior for years as a result of the work we did on that project. We have seen a lot of, I think, positive growth, and as indicated, once Sheriff Johnson came on board, it was night and day. He flipped the switch for us. He gave us the access we needed. We've never had a problem with any access issues in the county since then, and we've been able to do good work as a result of that access. We are, regularly reporting to the community group that was stood up, that also is our partner, to let them know what we're about. We are often given projects by the Board of Supervisors, and then our normal work is to sit in on internal affairs investigations as they're being decided, sit in on force reviews as they are being decided, and have a seat at the table and can weigh in with regard to whether we think this particular use of force was in policy or out of policy, and have an independent voice at that table with regard to each of those issues, as well as the ability to offer recommendations on ways to improve the process, whether it's trying to get internal affairs up to timeliness metrics, which they weren't when we first got started, everything from that to ensuring that there's a careful vetting of any military equipment that the county or the sheriff's office wants to use or purchase, and the like. So our plate is full, and we've really appreciated the opportunity to do that. We know that you all are having challenges in your county. Appreciate the fact that you at least have a community-based group that has now been stood up and been added for a few months now. But I do think that one thing that is missing is an IG or an independent police auditor in your county that could do the work that we're doing in Santa Cruz County, in the Santa Clara County. And it's unfortunate that you're not there yet. I know that the current sheriff has indicated his interest in an ombuds, but an ombuds person, while it's an important role and certainly can provide value to a county, it's not the same as oversight in many, many different ways. There's no transparency. There's no public reporting. There's no ability to let the community know what's going on in the jails. So I don't know that it is enough in my personal view. It's helpful, but not sufficient in my view. The same is true with regard to the community-based organization that you all have now. I think that's way helpful and important, but not enough. You know what? I do think that I'm a lawyer by trade, so I can go on all night. I'm not going to do that. I think the discussion and the back and forth thing is sometimes more valuable than just to hear me do introductory remarks. So unless anyone objects, I'm going to stop now and certainly open for any questions or comments that people may have.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Trina Patton, and I am the Outreach Work Group Lead for Fixin San Mateo County. And we do have a number of questions, but please, if there are any more, put them in the chat and we will get to as many as we can. So one of the first questions is, what limitations did Santa Clara County put on your work? Why do you think they did that? And how did it impact oversight?
First of all, Trina, it's good to see you. Keep
Thank
up the
you.
good work in the county. Really appreciate your advocacy and your commitment.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I couldn't get into Sheriff Smith's head, so it's hard to understand why she was so resistive. I do think a few things were going on. One is that she had been sheriff for since the beginning of time, maybe the turn of the century. Maybe not that long, but it's about a long time. And I do think that she was, for all those years, largely accepted, and there was no one really pushing back on her work until that murder happened, right? And when the murder happened in the jail, things started to change a lot. Unfortunately, it took that very tragic and unfortunate event for that to happen. But then, as you know, LaDoris Cordell chaired a Blue Ribbon Commission. One of the recommendations coming out of that commission was for oversight. When Sheriff Smith heard about that recommendation, um, she accepted that one instead of the other one, which was to fire her, if you recall. She didn't like that one at all, but she at least mouthed the words of being in supportive of the oversight. And then when the county and the board agreed to ramp up an oversight process, what we learned from her is something like what happened to your former sheriff, who was supportive of oversight when she was running for office and then wasn't. Well, Sheriff Smith then suddenly said, I'm supportive of oversight only a little bit, and we're not going to give you the information that you think you need in order for you to do your work. And that's where it stood for several months. And it made it very difficult for us to get started. That plus the epidemic probably put us 9 to 12 months behind schedule. But then other things started to happen. She left, and then we got going, and it's been nonstop ever since.
Great, great. Okay. So you talked about this a little bit, but I'm wondering more specifically, what might you say to a sheriff, to the deputies who are reluctant to support oversight? What words would you use with them to talk about this, why it might be good for them as well?
Right. Well, I certainly try to talk to them about the need, particularly I think in sheriff's offices, because they don't work for anybody, unlike a chief of police. So for that situation, to have an independent group sort of provide an independent evaluation or assessment of the decisions you're making, I think can benefit the sheriff. And for those that we have worked for, sheriffs, they will say as much. So what we often will do in counties that are reticent about getting started is we encourage them to talk to sheriffs in which we are currently engaged and see what they think of the value or the impediments or the downsides of having oversight in their county. And I think whether it's Sheriff Clark in Santa Cruz County or Sheriff Johnson in Santa Clara County, or any other of the chiefs of police that we work with, Chief Escalante in City of Santa Cruz, you know, Chief Reicheneider in Palo Alto, the new chief there. I would encourage anyone who's reticent, just talk to those folks and see what they think, because they're the ones that are most impacted by our work. Obviously, I think it's a valuable thing, but when I say it, it has a different resonance than when those who have been overseen by us say it. It has a different, obviously, it carries a different meaning.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So can you share with us some examples of real problems that you dealt with within the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office and how they got resolved?
Sure. I touched on it a little bit on one particular piece, and that is when we first got engaged with internal affairs, we recognized that they were severely understaffed. And as a result of that, the interest in timely investigations, internal investigations that everyone has, including the complainant, the deputy who's the subject of the investigation, leadership like sergeants that now have somebody working for them under a cloud, interest in having any kind of resolution be timely is really important. These were not timely. It was taking a year and sometimes longer for these investigations to be completed. So we worked with the sheriff. He agreed to provide additional resources to that group so that they would be sufficiently resourced. And we also started working with internal affairs to come up with ways to ensure that they were back on track. And it's taken 2 or 3 years to get there, but they are back on track. And so now we are seeing investigations done in the 0 to 6 month range, which is more consistent with professional standards than taking the whole year to get it done.
Okay, very good. Well, speaking of complaints, does your group handle, or do you as IG handle complaints from the public? And how do you take those complaints? How do you handle them?
That's a great question. And the answer is it depends. Some agencies do have us as our scope of work, have that formally set out in our scope of work as an intake function, but others don't. But even those that don't, we're not going to turn away somebody who is interested in complaining about a particular interaction they had with a sheriff's deputy or the police officer. We're going to do what we can to facilitate and provide information to the complainant about the options they have. And so what we do when somebody finds us and wants to potentially complain about conduct of a particular law enforcement officer is we will talk to them about the options, right? And we will, indicate that they can, fill out a complaint form or send an email or talk to us. There's all kinds of ways in which that information can be presented to the agency. We will even sometimes, if the complainant is reticent about sitting down with a sergeant to have them hear their story, we'll often even sit in with them if they'd like us to do that, to provide a level of support and make them feel more comfortable about the process. We also talk to them about our role and that we will be involved in reviewing their complaint if they are willing to bring it into the system, but also talk about how important it is to have them cooperate with any investigation because that cooperation will really go a long way to assisting the investigators in making a outcome based on all the information available.
Okay, great. Thank you. So one of the most common objections to oversight from both like boards of supervisors and residents is the cost of oversight. Do you have any thoughts about the cost of oversight, of having oversight versus not having oversight? And how much does it actually cost?
Great question. If you consider the budget of any law enforcement agency and then the amount of money that is devoted to oversight, it really is, it's not even a drop in the bucket. It's like a third of a drop in the bucket. For example, in Santa Cruz County, our budget is $100,000. That's half a salary of a mid-level executive in the county. For all that, they get all of the work that we do, the transparency, the reporting, the engagement with the potential complainants in the community. And I do think that the money is well worth it. I do think that it creates a level of confidence in the system that doesn't exist without oversight. It allows communities to see what people are complaining about, how those complaints are being handled, and the outcomes of those investigations. We're able to report that. Many sheriff's offices without oversight do not report that publicly. And I do think that that level of trust is incalculable. I mean, if you really want law enforcement to be effective, you have to have a level of trust and confidence in those that are providing public safety. Here's one metric that I don't think it's all about us, but it is a metric. Sheriff Johnson is running unopposed this year in Santa Clara County. So what does that say about the level of confidence in him? And it's mostly about him. I don't want to gain credit for this, but I do think the fact that he has embraced oversight, unlike his predecessor, has gone a long way towards his continuing seeking of trust and confidence in the work that he is leading.
Great, great. Okay. So Monterey County Board of Supervisors just approved oversight by an IG and a civilian advisory board, and we're very happy for them. How can they and the community organizations participate in the process of drafting the terms of an ordinance or policy with details about the IG and the board?
That's a great question. I think that they're going to do well. I think that they are looking at what's going on in Santa Cruz and other counties to sort of pattern what that scope of work might be. I understand from watching the board meeting, the most recent board meeting, that there is going to be a community component like in your county, which is great. No, I wish them well. We've had no secrets here. We've had some preliminary discussions with them to provide some thoughts on how we've been doing in Santa Cruz and in Santa Clara for them. You also are well aware, I'm sure, that Marin County just got started with an oversight group as well, headed up by John Alton, who I think has appeared before your group and was at Sonoma for a long time. So John says, I talked to him recently. He said the first month or two have been fine, and he's looking forward to moving the needle in that county.
Okay.
So it keeps coming. We're almost there at I think we've got 8 counties now out of 58, but I would say 5 years ago we were like at 2 counties. So things are moving along.
Very good, very good. And so one final question. How do you deal with the possible criticism that an IG in the sheriff's department is working too closely together?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So one of my colleagues was providing oversight for Orange County at the time, and he had a good relationship with the sheriff at the time. And I think they were in a little bit of a disagreement about how a case should be resolved. And so what the sheriff told my colleague is, if you don't understand where I'm coming from, I'm going to have to go to the Board of Supervisors and tell them what a great job you're doing. Because that tension is there, right? So that's why I asked Sheriff Johnson, don't sing our praises too much, because we don't want anyone to think that, we are collaborative to a point where we have been subsumed within your organization. And that's a fine line and tightrope to walk. And so what we try to do is make everyone a little bit happy with our work, but also everyone a little bit angry with our work. And you're not doing enough, or you're too confrontational. If we're getting that from both sides of the equation, I think that means we're meaningful and we're doing our job.
Very good, very good. Mike, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Of course,
Really
Trina.
appreciate
Of course.
the information. And we'd love to have you back sometime in the future as we continue to have more counties with oversight and permanent IGs. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you again, Trina. Thank you for the leadership of Fixing San Mateo. Great work. Love the editorial, Jim. Got a chance to read that.
Wonderful.
Spot on. So hang in there, interns. If you need a job in a few years, come find us.
Yay. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce RJ.
Am I unmuted now?
Yep.
Hi there. Good evening. Good evening. Good to see everyone. So what I'd like to do tonight is just to bring ourselves into what we call center. When we move to center, we move from thinking to sensing and feeling. And the sense of what is it that this brings up within us? What are we moving toward that inspires us? And in that posture, I want you to take a breath up through the body, into your length, into what we call the dignity. And as we look around this room, the dignity of others. And we take another breath to expand into our width. And this sense of width, we often shrink. We want to be able to move into our width as our social domain. It's how we reach out to others and we allow others in. And how we invite them into our sense of what's possible for the future. And this next breath is depth. That as we feel our back, we feel the hands of our ancestors, of those who walked before us, and that they're still there, that we don't have to manufacture this. And the front of it, as we breathe in, is longing for what is possible, which just leads us to this sense of what is our organizing principle? What does success look like when we finally obtain this goal that we are working hard for? And just allow that to land inside of you in your heart, allowing it to breathe through us. And this is our sense of center and our invitation to the rest of the community to join us. So I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here this evening and taking the time to be in this journey with us, right? I'm giving up. We're in a fight, but this journey. So thank you very much, Trina. I'm going to pass it back to you. Thank you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, my computer just told me. Thank you. Just a few things to share with you all. We want to ask if you would please sign the petitions for the Stop the Scandals, that the event that was put together by our interns. And the information will be in the chat, but it is at stopthescandals.org // petition. And that is the petition to ask the board to bring on a permanent inspector general. You can also join the interns in Fixin San Mateo County at the board meeting on August 25th at 9 a.m., where the interns will present the petition to the board with the over 500 signatures that we've already gotten. Please, if you can, donate to the interns Stop the Scandal GoFundMe. It'll also be in the chat. It's at stopthescandals.org /action /donate. And then finally, we are having our annual Fixin' on the Coast, which will be Thursday, September 24th from 4 to 6 at the Half Moon Bay Brewery. And it is our annual event to just celebrate and talk about the work of Fixin San Mateo and all of you who help us do the work that we do. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your participation tonight, and take good care.